Hey, chicas, welcome to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast, the show where women share their personal power tools, the techniques, strategies, and ways of being which have enabled their business and life success. I'm your host, Lovelda Vincenzi, a female speaker mentor, speaker, and event host on a mission to unleash authentic, powerful female voices onto the world. In today's episode, we'll be uncovering the power tools of Tatiana Fecikova. Tatiana left her home country of Slovakia when she was just 18 to pursue a better, more exciting life and discover new possibilities. But 14 years later, while stuck in a few jobs that she hated, stuck in a life where she worked on autopilot like a machine without a soul or any purpose, she decided to embrace that spirit of adventure and courage once again and take a chance. She made the decision to change her life and do something significant, inspire others, and leave an imprint in the world. Tatiana has always been a freedom rebel. It is her true nature. In the past, she has used that energy in an aggressive way, as she thought that was what she had to do to fight with the whole world, which led to anger, resentment, moodiness, and depression. Finding herself at the point where she was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and of other people deciding how her life should look, she quit 2 jobs at the same time as she desired to make something out of her life so that she would look back one day and know that she truly lived and created a legacy. Tatiana left those jobs because she wanted to leave a positive imprint in the world and to inspire others, and this is now exactly what she does. She went from cleaning toilets to deeply transforming lives. In this episode, we take a deep dive into Tatiana's money journey, in which she transformed from a poverty mindset and indeed living on the breadline to having over 12 months worth of thriving money sitting tidy in her bank account. Now remember, all links shared in this show can be found within the show notes. The only way to ensure that you get your regular fix of this show is to hit that subscribe button right now to make sure that you get updates as soon as a new show is added. Well, that is more than enough from me for now, so let's dive right back in there and get on with the show. Hey, chicas, welcome back to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast. Can you believe we is almost at the end of the season? But you know what? It's just going to keep coming strong because I am not holding back, and neither are my guests. Today's guest, I could not have done this show without her. She's like you know when you meet somebody and they're like an angel sent from heaven, just purity in energy, purity in soul, very strong and powerful, steely and spiritual, like steely and spiritual. And her journey, I watched her speak in South Africa, right? And she was speaking about her journey financially around money. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have to bring this girl here because the way she dropped them wisdom bombs there, I thought, you know what, we're still in COVID-19. What's happening at the moment in the world is there's a lot of people who are struggling, whether it was COVID-19 or otherwise. Whenever this episode is released, the ripples of what's happened for business owners, at least in COVID, are still going to be seen as businesses have had to pivot and change. You know, depending on what business you're in, you might have had to be shut down for a moment and start again. And so finances are tight. You've had to stretch that money as far as you could stretch that money. So I thought I need to bring this chick in here to tell us how she did it when let me just let her explain it because I'm gonna try and tell the whole story and I'm not gonna tell it right. I'm gonna mix it up. So please welcome my guest today, Tatiana Fecikova.
Hi, beautiful. Hello.
Oh my gosh, girl!
So excited.
So am I. This is so overdue. So overdue.
So are you, yeah.
Okay, let me just calm down because I'm so excited.
Where do you want me to start?
So Tatiana, there'll be people listening in who are like, okay, Lovelda, you tried to tell the story, but you tiptoed around the story. So you're originally from the Czech Republic, right?
Slovakia.
I'm mixing them up. They're next to each other.
That's fine. They used to be together. It used to be Czechoslovakia, yeah.
It was Czechoslovakia, the wrong side. Originally from Slovakia. And you moved to the UK when?
2005, so 15 years ago, yeah.
But you didn't move into one of them high-powered jobs when you moved, though, did you?
No, so basically, after my A-levels, and I studied economy school, surprise, no? Never really liked it, too restrictive. So I went to Germany for 3 years first. and then I came to England. And when I went abroad, obviously, growing up in communist countries still, when I was growing up, there was still communism. We were always taught not to stick out, like you have to be okay with what you have, like do not have too much money, otherwise people will be, like it can be dangerous. So when I went abroad, we usually used to always go for like cheap jobs, like au pairs, let's say, where you earn like £70 maybe a week. So yeah, so I started as au pair and cleaner when I came here first time.
Humble beginnings.
Humble
But you worked
beginnings.
your way up. So you went from au pair to cleaner, and then you did some work in restaurants and managed
And pubs, yeah.
restaurants
So
and pubs.
yeah, it's quite interesting because obviously when I came here, I couldn't speak a word English, even though we did study English at school, but I have never really learned it. So the new language. And then when I started in a pub, I was there 11 years, but straight after first year, I became supervisor. So I went into higher position. And yeah, back then I think wages were like £5 an hour. So how much can you save out of that? Obviously, with the cost in this country when you live separate. So yeah, so I started really humble, and yeah, basically when I knew at some point after years I felt really dead on the inside. So I literally felt like wake up, eat, go to work, sleep, wake up. It was like robotic. And then you really wonder, like, why live if you don't feel alive? There is nothing lighting you up. So I went into the personal development kind of industry, and I never knew anyone. Like, I didn't know one person who was in that. So I had to really not fight, but like people around you, they mean really well, but sometimes they don't realize they're putting their own limitations on you. So not only I had to be in my own space to grow, but also had to like dismiss what everyone else was thinking. So to follow my own journey. So basically, I signed up for programs, and that got me first time ever in a debt. I was always poor. I mean, I was carrying generations. I think I'm the first one who broke the generational thing of being poor. And that's something to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge. To
Yeah.
kind of come from a family in which money is just not a thing that you have, and be the first person to break out of that. That is huge.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like at some point we as a family of four probably had around 20 Slovak crowns, which is probably, I don't know, 10p, 20p for a week to survive as a family of four. So we grew up really humble. I never used to get any pocket money. I remember my friends buying me ice creams because I couldn't afford it. So I
Wow.
always carried this poor mindset even when I came abroad. And then I remember one day when I got myself into debts, I was just like, that's enough. I literally had to go to point C when there was my breaking point to go to breakthrough point. I was like, that's it. I'm
That's
sick and
super
tired.
interesting, because it's like I'm okay with the poor, but there's a level of poor. But when I drop too much below that, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's very different in different amounts of money, right? I think we've all got that, almost that pocket that we've grown into. And if you've grown into a wealthy family, you're comfortable with much more money. And if you've grown into a modest family, there's kind of this ceiling you almost inherit. But
Yeah.
it's interesting that you had to drop. I mean, the amount of money that you were living on, a lot of people really would have struggled with, and you were more than comfortable with it because that's just how it was. It's what you knew, it's what everybody else around you was like, and you had to drop. So how bad did it get?
I mean, at some point when I joined my first high level course, I obviously didn't have money. So I went on a payment plan, hoping the money will show up.
Oh yeah, we've been there.
Following all this beautiful, let's affirm you rich. And then I was saying, yeah, all this money is coming to me. However, inside, I didn't believe it. So I was told spend money and you will get more back, which clearly didn't happen. It's just my debts increased. So at some point, when you heard the stories, I had several, like £8 in my pocket or whatever, that was normal for me. I was always at that level. I was always struggling to just keep about the zero, not on my bank
You,
account.
you were kind of like, that's not even a story.
Yeah. It's just literally, for me, that was nothing new. I was used to that. So for me, that was like I was always at that survival point, always at that survival point. And then one day, I remember if it wasn't for my housemate, I wouldn't be able to eat because I couldn't afford to buy food. So it came twice really close to for me to think about seriously about having to leave and go back home, because I didn't have money for the rent, for the food. So it got really, really, let's call it desperate, if you like.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but for me, I realized like one day I was on the phone with a friend, and as I put the phone down, I was like, what am I worried about? When I look back, every time something like this happened, nothing really happened. I survived. I'm a born survivor, so I can go through with this.
I am a born survivor.
Yeah,
I mean,
in a good sense, not in a bad sense, not in a victimhood kind of sense. You know, like in the sense like giving you power, empowerment.
do you know what? There's so many similarities. If we take the numbers out of the equation, there's so many similarities I've seen for myself, experienced to a certain extent in terms of this. Okay, you've got to invest, so invest big, and then, if you put the money out there, it's coming back to you. What have you to say about that in terms of mindset? Because it's a shift. You still invest, right? You're still one of these people who invests in your growth. But do you invest in the same way, or have you noticed some sort of shift in the way that you think about investing?
Definitely for me, yes, because I used to always go more into my logical and analytical side. So I would research for months and blah, blah, blah. Um, Literally, the investment I did last year was on a whim. I've seen the emailed them back, invested, and there was just intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying just to go head on into it without like knowing deeply down that it's right, because you also need to take responsibility for it, that you might lose that money.
Mm-hmm.
So I invested with knowing I might lose it. However, I wasn't attached to it, so there was detachment. There wasn't like, oh, I hope this is gonna work out, or you know what I mean. So
Mm-hmm.
trust and surrender. And I really trusted, like this is gonna work out. And if it doesn't, then I'm okay with it, because I'm aware of what can happen if it doesn't work out. So I take 100% responsibility for if I lose the money, and that's okay. But now actually it's working out. So I just sit here and get every 3 months 30% on top of my investment. So
I mean, when I say a turnaround story, this girl
yeah,
was like, let me see if I can stay above zero, to let me invest and get a
yeah,
30% return. If it comes through, it does. And if it doesn't, yeah,
yeah.
I'm
I
good.
mean, like lots of people ask me about that thing, because it can be such a myth, and people
Yeah.
don't realize there is so much power within you to actually achieve anything you want to. So when I got myself into debt, I think for me, the first thing was realizing something needs to change. But it was more like an intention and decision, internal decision. It wasn't something like, oh, I have to do it because X, Y, Z. It was more about peaceful intention and decision. It's time. I am ready to change my life. So for me, first it was looking at what doesn't serve me, then taking responsibility for it. I literally made spreadsheets, put all the money I owned into spreadsheet, and then knowing what you want. You have to know what you want rather than concentrate what you don't. Because for me,
Mm.
literally, my mindset has changed. Instead of always thinking like, oh my God, I need to pay my rent, I don't have money for the food, I started to concentrate on abundance rather than on luck. So even if I found a penny on the street, because we sometimes give so much value. I know you laugh because I say people are so attached to the paper, and for me it's just like lots of zeros and there is a number in front of it. So yeah, so basically money doesn't care if it's 1 penny or £1,000 or 1 million. Money has the same kind of energy. So if you dismiss, oh, it's just a penny I found on the street, it's still the same, it's still the energy of the money. So when I found a penny, I was feeling grateful. I was like, yes, please, more of this. So because I was concentrating on the positive of it, I started to see more of it, and literally things changed like this. Within 2 years, I paid the debt, which would normally take me 10 years probably to pay, according
Wow.
to my original calculations. And I was really scared to start, because sometimes we feel discouraged to start because it seems so huge. And I started only with £20 a month because I couldn't afford more. But at least I started. It's the action of starting it. And we do not attract what we want, we attract who we are. So it's not about getting what you want, it's about aligning it what you want.
Did I not tell you this chick has she's got just gems. So it's not about attracting, because there's a lot of people, especially law of attraction. I call them the Humana crew. I used to be one of them. You know, you sit down and you have your affirmations and you do your meditations and you visualize what it is that you want so that you can attract it. Tatiana says, no, you align yourself to it.
You need to align in with what you want, because if you still concentrate on what you don't want, like you said, look, I wouldn't say I don't believe in law of attraction, but I believe in the balance of masculine and feminine. It's the same like if you want to lose weight, you're not going to sit on the sofa and eat pizza and pray for losing the weight. You know, you still need to take action. So, you know, you still need to show that you're doing something towards changing your current situation. So, you know, like, you do need to believe positively. You need to concentrate on the positive of it. So like on abundance rather than on a lack of it. However, you also need to take action towards changing it. The debt's not going to just disappear by its own, but it can change really quickly. So yes.
It can change faster than you think. I love what you said in there as well about focusing, about money doesn't care what the number is. It's how you approach it.
Yeah.
Because there can be times when it's like, what I need is this much, and here's a penny. What the heck is a penny going to do for me right now? You're still speaking to money.
Yes, exactly.
Kind of saying, I want this much, but what is anything going to do for me right now? You're still speaking to money. And that's such an interesting way of looking at it, to say, whether it's a large amount or a small amount, what is your relationship with it? Or is your relationship with whether or not you're going to be positive, let's say, or negative, determined by the number in front of you? Because if it is, then you're not consistent.
I mean, look, I tried it all. You know, when people say to you, write a letter to money, what kind of relationship you would have with it. I mean, I tried it all. I was even imagining doing snow angels in money, you know, like I was imagining bathing in money. I've done it all. And it really didn't seem to work because my mindset still wasn't there. I still didn't believe that I can have it. So it's about aligning our energy, because when we change our energy and our mindset about it, we can completely change how we experience the world as in general, or, you know, like things will change. And if you change our intention, if we align our intention, we will change our path.
And I love what you say there, because I think I've been looking at how I create things, and there's always a tipping point for me. There's a point in which I'm just telling myself something, but I don't even believe it. Like, I don't believe it. I'm just saying it over and over again. This is going to be the year, you know, but there's something in me, just, I'm speaking the words, but something in me is still kind of like, maybe. And then there's a point where I reach where it's just like, this is happening. Yeah. And I don't need to have the plan. I don't need to know exactly what the steps is. Do you know what that click is? I'm just wondering if you figured out what it is, because I can't figure out what that thing is that has me tip over to deluding myself where I know it's delusion. There's something in me that's not quite with it, to a point where, to my core, it's happening.
Right. So, you know, like, I think for everyone else it's different, because like what works for me doesn't have to work for you necessarily. What works for you doesn't have to work for someone else. So for me, definitely, unfortunately, I seem to always wait to the point C where it gets really desperate, when I'm really fed up. So rather than skipping that point C to go straight to point D, no, I have to go really down where I feel like, screw this, I had enough, and then I change. So unfortunately for me, I usually wait. I've seen that pattern of me, like waiting to the point where that's it, I had it, you know. However, also with some people, like you said, sometimes like that sometimes we think about it already for a bit. So therefore, unconsciously, we might be already rewiring our mind to believe that. So when it comes to it, when suddenly the switch happens, you might have been already preparing yourself, you know, like the plane when it starts to take off. You might have been preparing yourself to do that already.
I want to jump back to something that you mentioned earlier and dive into it a little bit more when you started doing personal development, because you've done a lot. I mean, you do a lot of NLP. This woman is a healer, like, just so you know. We skim around things, but you need a little piece of Tatiana in your life. I'm just telling you, she'd be doing some things. I don't know how she'd be doing them, but they're brilliant. But when you started, you said you had to be really careful about who was around you. I didn't miss that piece because, and what they were saying, it was like you were stepping into this whole other world, and sometimes the conversations weren't necessarily helpful. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Expand on this. Yeah, so basically, obviously, when I worked in a pub, I didn't know anyone who was even near thinking around this kind of area. And I wanted out, so I had to go and physically look for people, which wasn't easy for me because actually talking to strangers was one of my biggest fears, one of my three biggest fears. So when I first went to networking events, I used to hide in toilets. Honestly, I was sweating so badly. I felt sorry for people who were sitting next to me. It was bad, but I did it because I was determined. Like we talked about tenacity, I was determined to change my life. And literally sometimes it is like you have to put like headphones on your ears, not to listen to people who are around you. If you can recognize that they do care, however they're telling you sometimes things out of what they would have done because they are scared, like they are worried that it will not work out. Is that your truth? You need to always ask yourself, is that your truth? Does it align with you? What's your desire, not what's other people's desires? And it can be really discouraging because I remember first time when I didn't know anything about energy and this kind of world, I started to meditate, and honestly, I heard that some of my closest friends were gossiping about me behind my back that I joined a sect. And I was like, what? I was like, okay. But you can't let it get into you because as long as you're aligned with your own truth and your own desires, that's all that matters. And now, obviously, those people look at me. I was like, oh, it's easy for you. All these people. I was like, really? Really?
You know where I was, right? You were there back then.
Yeah. It's like, really, people make it seem so. It's like people can always find excuses. Oh, it's easy for you because of X, Y, Z. No, it's not. No, it's not. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Oh, which leads me beautifully into my next question, because you be demonstrating this just from your story. Is just, every time I hear it, it's so inspiring, and there's always some new level and layer to how I always want to get in your brain, like open it up a little bit and just understand how is it wired? How does somebody think the way Tatiana thinks?
But
so
even my boyfriend doesn't understand me, so don't try to. It's like, I think my brain is just like wired differently. I don't know.
It's wired good though. I like it. I really do. Which brings me on to my next question. What do you think makes a woman powerful? Because there's a lot of stuff. I'm really interested from your perspective because of your background, because of your challenges, because of where you came from and where you are now and where I know you to be going to. What do you think is the source of a woman's power?
I mean, for me, for what I've seen, is when we really keep to our own values, so don't try to be somebody else just because it might be, we might be inspired. Let yourself inspire, but be yourself. Have your integrity, what is important to you, what are your values, and then show them. It doesn't matter if people think you crazy or if people think you too extroverted or you too introverted. It doesn't matter. Be you. So being in your own values, so carry your values forth into the change in the world you want to, you want to create. And also obviously standing in your own power, because it's so easy when, like we said, other people might be telling you at the beginning, and it's hard to start. So when you hear those discouraging words from people who matter to you most, it can really stop someone in their tracks and they just shrink and go back to where they were. However, people normally don't stay the same. They either grow or go down. So people might become more depressed because they are not fulfilling what their heart knows that they want or their desires are. So yeah, so basically standing in your own power. You need to stand in your own power, and it might be hard at some point. Then find people who will be healthier for you to be around, at least for the time being. Honestly, find like circle of people who are either there where you want to be or higher than you want to be. It's not about someone's better than the other. It's about the healthier environment where you can thrive at the beginning, when you become more confident and then stand in your power. Because when you believe in yourself and you really embody your true self, people will respect you, people will admire you, but in healthy sense, not like in this worshipping guru sense. Yeah, so people, you will allow to light the same in the people you will inspire eventually. However, you need to stand in your own power.
And it's a journey.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
for some, I know it's definitely been a journey for me. And what I find is I'm stepping deeper into it. But I love what you say in terms of starting and pick an environment to thrive in. And it's not that I used to say to folk when they were starting, look, sometimes the worst people for you to tell is friends and family. Like they know you as you right now, not as the you're becoming. And their role in life is to keep you safe. And new is scary and uncertain, and therefore, by extension, unsafe. So if you stay where you are, we know what we're dealing with. But this new world, bad things could happen, and we don't want bad things to happen to you. So understand they're coming from a good space, but it's a place they haven't been before. And because they haven't been before and they don't understand it, it's scary, and they don't want to see you hurt. That's it.
Yeah.
So you need to find people who've been in the space you want to go to, and they can say, yeah, it's a bit scary, but it's actually really nice over here. Once you get here, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just watch out for those thorns because they hurt. But I mean, they're going to leave a little scratch. It'll heal. But if you step over them, it'll be a little bit better. So, so beautifully said.
I mean, I always compare it to like growing pains. I don't know if I ever told you, I think I was 11, I'm not sure. I literally grew within a month 11 centimeters. I'm not joking you. I could feel in a night how my body is stretching. I used to cry because obviously it's painful. So when I think about personal development, it's the best growth tool for you. Internally, it sometimes really hurts. It hurts, but you will learn to deal with it better as you grow, because on every level we find something new. However, we will learn to deal with it better because we know what's happening. So the awareness is there.
Yeah. I think I say to people, just because you've got more successful doesn't mean you don't have problems.
Oh,
It
yeah,
just
yeah,
means
yeah.
you have better quality problems. So the problems are still going to be there. They're just better quality problems.
Also, it's so easy to get, like when it's so easy at the beginning to compare yourselves to others. However, I mean, it can be so easy to get into like what people portray that their life is. How you never know what's going on behind the closed doors. And that's the thing, like we said, I've got really good bullshit brother, because as an Aquarians, our innermost values is integrity and honesty. So we can see if people are pretending, and you can sometimes see, like, right, okay, so you're doing this, however you can see something's not quite right. So do not always believe what you see. Follow people who inspire you, not with people where you feel more down about yourself.
Oh, people who are going to lift you up and have you feel inspired rather than have you looking at yourself and trigger your imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
This brings me on to the mean question I ask every single guest. You know it's coming, but it still lands as slightly mean. If we were to take, don't look like that. It's not that scary, honestly. Now I've made it sound really bad.
Shoot away.
Okay. If we were to take everything that you've achieved in life and business today and boil it down, like just boil it all the way down to the core, 3 things that you would say have been pivotal in your success in life and business. I call them your power tools. What would your 3 power tools be? Let's start with the first one.
Well, definitely tenacity.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Determination. Like we already talked about, it can be sometimes hard, but you just literally have to have tunnel vision with some things. Like this one is one of them. If there is only negativity around you, you just need to, and it's not easy. That's why it's sometimes good to find people who will understand where you're coming from. So tenacity to go after what you want. If you want, you can always wake up every morning and say, like today I will follow my desires. And you don't have to think that you have to jump from nothing to 100 straight away. It probably wouldn't be healthy anyway. I find quite often people who didn't build proper foundation internally as well as systems and stuff like that. And then they build something on it. It's like house. You can't build house without proper foundations, and then it all just goes. And then you have to start again, and it's hard. So make sure that you build proper foundations for yourself, but have the tenacity to follow your dreams regardless of what everyone else is saying, because only you know what's good for you.
Only you know what's good for you. So if that means you got to surround yourself with some new people, it doesn't mean releasing all of the old people, but you might need to bring in some new people to support you in a specific mission because they understand it until you can get the momentum. And then they're going to say, well, like Tatiana's friends, it's all right for you. It's all right for you. They weren't there when it was all going down. So the first one's tenacity. What would be the second one?
I mean, integrity for me anyway, because I can't do, as you know, I can't do anything else as an Aquarian anyway. So it really is integrity, you know, like just be true to our own values, because what can happen if we try to follow something that's really against our values? So let's say if I was be now lying, I wouldn't be feeling good about it. So then I would feel guilty and bad about it. So therefore, then I'm just putting all this negativity on. You just need to be you, whether people like it or not. It does, you know, be you. I know that there are people, you can't be liked by everyone anyway. You might be also catalyst for people. So whether you try to be liked by them, you might trigger them. So integrity in everything, for me anyway, that's one of my values. So I'm, you know, like I can't do something against it, because then it will be like, you know, and I will go straight down. So yeah.
How do you deal with staying in integrity when you being integrity you can see is triggering or causing somebody else pain in some sort of way? Like it's almost like your integrity causes an issue for somebody else. How do you wrap your head around that, especially as a woman where we have connections? We don't want to upset people. We want people to be happy. But sometimes making people happy means not doing something they want us to do, or saying something that's really true to us that hurts somebody else's feelings. How do you navigate that to maintain integrity?
I mean, like for me, it's just a feeling. I had to grow into it, because I really, when I first came here, obviously, because I'm a literal speaker, which doesn't always help. It just like comes like verbal diarrhea sometimes. But I was told so often that I speak with like German accent, even though I never had it. That I speak harsh. So I was trying to soften my voice, and then I was trying to be this nice person, because I always felt like I'm horrible. And of course, we don't want to hurt people. However, it came to the point where I literally felt like I lost myself. It was like somebody else living in my body. I just felt like it's not me, and it made me feel so down, like so depressed. I had to go back to, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna be who I am. Someone doesn't like it, they can lump it, but you can't be liked by anyone, and you know that you want, people will be triggered by you regardless of, you can't be liked by everyone. However, there is a thin line between being arrogant or hurtful and truthful. So you need to find that kind of, how would you say it, like line for you, because you can be truthful and have integrity, but say it with love and care, and people will understand.
And if they don't, they weren't for you anyway. They weren't for you anyway. I'm going to pick up on what you said in there, because I think it was so powerful, that failing to hold your own integrity had you lose yourself. So I think there's something in there in remembering every time I don't uphold my integrity, I lose a piece of me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And for me to think of it that way, I'm like, I ain't cashing in me for you. It's not about to happen. So I guess I'm gonna have to speak up.
Yeah, it's about also understanding other people, because everyone's got their own journey. So basically, we need to understand not everyone is us. You know, they didn't have the same experiences. So who are we to tell them how they should behave? So it's about accepting other people's perception of world. It might not be the same. We might agree that we disagree. It's no point to go arsy about it, basically. You can still stay in your integrity and be open to different opinions, because if you're open and flexible, but you need to stay in your own truth.
Staying in your own truth. And the third one, your third power tool?
That was the values, yeah. Staying to your, like
Staying in
really
your own
trusting
values.
your gut. So, intuition, follow your intuition. For me, it was really hard at the beginning because, I still don't know. Now I just follow it because I was overthinking it exactly why. Okay, let me break down the intuition. What is it exactly? How does it behave? How does it feel? Where do I feel it? I was completely in such an analytic mode. And it's just, yeah, anyway. So it was hard for me to distinguish what is intuition and what is being, having the fear of the unknown. Because when I started to do this, getting slowly into depth, I actually quit both the jobs at the same time as well.
Of
Yeah,
course.
of course, yeah. Doesn't work for everybody. I don't recommend it. However, like I said, it took me time to get there. When I went to the point where I had enough, something needs to change. And for me, I can sometimes do something really drastic. But that works for me. I wouldn't do it in every situation. And I don't recommend it if it's not you. So just do what feels true to you. However, what do I want to say now? Oh, I lost my thought.
So you were talking about being true to you and intuition and analyzing intuition.
Oh yeah, so intuition. So the first time when I found something not to do like online and stuff like that, it felt right. And suddenly a week before, it felt so wrong. And I remember talking to a friend, like, is this intuition or is it fear of the unknown? Because you start to question everything if you're new to this, even if you're not new to this. You question things like, is it my ego or is it the fear? Am I scared again of something new? And I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know. And it's proven to be intuition. So yeah, it went really bad. But, like, that's the lesson you take to learn to trust your intuition and your own gut and stand in your own values. If something doesn't feel right, it's not right.
And you'll eventually figure it out. Like, I've had times when I've gone, for whatever reason, there's nothing somebody or something's done. I just have a bad feeling. Like, something's just not sitting right with me.
Yeah.
I now no longer need to know why. I just stay away. Like, it doesn't feel right. I'm open to it being otherwise, but something is telling me this isn't a space I'm supposed to be in. So I'm just not going to go there. And I don't need to understand why, but I'm not getting that pull. Something isn't the right fit, because anytime I've analyzed the heck out of it and gone, but on paper, it looks really good.
Yeah.
I normally realize later why something wasn't right. Like, I knew, but now I needed to go in and figure out exactly what wasn't right. I now don't need to waste my time understanding
sorry, go on.
what was right.
Yeah, but it's also that awareness you had, and you acknowledged it. So it's awareness, acknowledgement, and the trust in it.
Yeah. It comes with time. It comes with time to get to that space.
Yeah.
So Tatiana, people are going to be listening to this and they'll be like, oh, what a fresh, beautiful perspective. I love this woman. I need more of this woman in my life. I could gobble her up. How do they connect with you? And is there something that you've got that you can give them?
They can find me on my Facebook page, even though I have to say I haven't used it for you. So I'm just...
The links will all be in the show notes.
Again, yeah, resurfacing again, new reborn. Yeah. So they can just find me on the Facebook page and they can connect with me there. So yeah.
Fabulous. The links are in the show notes. Connect in with Tatiana in the show notes. One last thing, because we have discussed so much. And there are so many layers to it. I mean, we've dived into the journey of getting out of debt. We've dived into stepping into your own self in terms of business. We've dived into moving from one space to a completely different space and what that looks like, and friendship circles. It is a lot. So if there was just one thing that you would want to leave our guests with, our listeners with today, what would be that one thing?
I would definitely say, follow your desires, believe in yourself, trust, even if you lack that belief, trust in that feeling you've got to follow it. And remember, we have to be it to see it. We have to be it to see it. Sounds simple, not easy to do, especially if the outside world is telling us completely something different, not as people, but our situations and so on. We have to be it to see it. Yeah.
Oh, you heard it here first, ladies. You've got to be it to see it, which means you've got to find the tenacity and the internal strength to start taking the first steps. Just little baby ones is fine. Just them first little baby steps. It has been incredible, Tatiana. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your gorgeous wisdom. Y'all have been listening to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast. If you have not yet hit that subscribe button and sent over a review, I'm wondering what's taking you so long. Remember, we're also on YouTube, so jump over to the YouTube channel if you prefer to see us in Technicolor. I dress up for this time, right? So some of y'all have got to head over there and see it. Until next time, ciao, chicas!